Good morning, BNI Socal. Hope everything is going well on the sunny side of the United States. I'm over here. My name is Jeremy Walsh, and I'm the Director of Support, Training, and Documentation for BNI Connect. I happen to be over here on the cold coast, which is the eastern coast of the United States in Rhode Island. It's about 30 degrees out here, by the way. Would much rather be with you guys. But that being said, I was asked today by your executive directors, Jenny and Adam, to please go over the visitor program. I realize you guys are going to be switching off of a previous system and starting to use the visitors in BNI Connect. And what we wanted to do was to take some time to go through all of the steps of how does BNI Connect actually help with visitors? What is the process in BNI Connect? Where does the information go to? How do we enter the visitors? All of that, and even hopefully some of the benefits of using this system, and also some successes using it. So a couple of things just to make you guys aware is, as the Director of Support, I'm also, by the way, a member. I'm a member of a chapter. I've been a member of a chapter since 2002. So I still attend weekly meetings. My meetings was yesterday, Thursday mornings. So if you're ever on this coast, you're welcome to come and join me at one of my chapter meetings. I've also been many leadership team positions. I've been president 2 or 3 times. I've been the vice president of my chapter. Never been the secretary treasurer though, but been visitor host a number of times, an education coordinator, all of those. So I'm pretty familiar with how the process goes, and again, hopefully we can make this nice and easy for you. Some other things you may be interested in, I am recording this session today, so if you need to share this with any of your other team members, I'll send the link directly over to Jenny. She'll be able to distribute that to anybody that you need to share that with. It'll also be available on the support site as well as on our YouTube channel. And then if you need to encourage anybody else, we'll be doing this session again in about 3 hours to the people that were available in the afternoon. And by the way, this is also a live webinar, so if you have any questions, please do ask those questions as we're going through the material today. All you got to do is type the question into the question panel here in BNI Connect and the GoToWebinar software. I will see that pop up on my screen and I can answer it as we're going through. Or if it's completely unrelated, I'll just save those questions up till the end. Just to set expectations, it usually takes about a half hour to go through the material. That being said, I don't have a time limit on any of these webinars. If you have additional questions or it seems that it's taking longer or whatever, I am happy to stay on this call until every single question is answered and everything is crystal clear. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. So today's topic is visitors and how do visitors and how does the flow of visitors work in BNI Connect? So there's actually 3 different steps to visitors. And by the way, I think Jenny already sent this out, but I do have a manual that I wrote. This is one of the screenshots from the manual. There's, I think, a 57-page manual showing you every step of the process. If you'd like a copy of that, if you haven't received it via email, feel free to. There's a handouts section of this GoToWebinar software. Just click on the handout. I have it up there in both Word and PDF format. And if you're having trouble with that, just shoot me an email, support@bniconnect.com, and I'd be happy to send you a copy as well. But this is the flow of visitors. And as far as BNI Connect is concerned, there's 3 parts to the process. So the first part of that is you can actually send an invitation to a visitor through BNI Connect. So I'm not sure if you're familiar with that yet, but I'll show you that in just a second. The second part of the process is pre-registering visitors for an upcoming meeting. And this is the part that has really turned around the visitor process in BNI in general. So what we're finding is more and more people are actually showing up after they've been invited to a meeting because it's changing the mindset around the type of meeting that it is. So I'll show you the pre-registration process. By the way, as visitor hosts and the people that are responsible for doing data entry, what's great about this process is that it offloads the data entry to the other members and to anybody else that's inviting a visitor or even to the visitor themselves. So what that means is that the third part of this process, which happens after the meeting, which is recording your visitors, all that needs to be is a yes, this person attended checkbox rather than doing all of the typing and data entry of the visitors themselves. So Again, we're going to go through this whole process. I'll show you how this works. Those first two steps happen before the meeting, and then that third step, which is the follow-up process, happens after the meeting. So let's first take a look at that very first part of the process, inviting visitors. And inviting visitors, pretty easy to do in BNI Connect. Let me show you that. All right, so I'm logged into BNI Connect right now. Now, to get to some of these functions, we do have to venture to the scary place beyond the home screen in BNI Connect. Hopefully everybody's familiar with this, which is the home screen. All the rest of the things that we're going to do in BNI Connect, we can find those under these menus along the top. So we have network, operations, reports, tools, and admin. And depending on your level of access, you may or may not see all of those. Where you're going to spend most of your time, network is the social media stuff. It's where connecting with other BNI members around the world and giving testimonials, that type of thing. Operations and reports are really where just about everything else is. Think of it this way, and here's how I remember it. Operations is the day-to-day management of your chapter. If you need to do stuff, go to operations. If you need to invite a visitor, you need to enter a visitor, you need to register a visitor, you need to do any kind of data entry, operations is the place you want to go. If you're looking to get data back out of BNI Connect, that's where you go to the reports. So if you're looking for exports, you're looking for statistics, you're looking for a roster or something like that, you're going to go to reports. So the first part of this process, I want to send out an email invitation. The place I'm going to go to is operations. So I'm going to operations, chapter. And once we get to the operations menu, this is where we have all of the things on the left-hand side. The place that I want to go from here is I'm going to be sending out an email invitation, so I'm going to go to Create Email. There's three different options here. Email my chapter, which is, by the way, this is a great tool for, if you ever need to get an email out to your whole chapter, you can just grab all the email addresses here and copy and paste them into your own email program. But the one I wanted to show you is this second one here, Email Visitor Invitation. And what this does is it sends out a brand compliant custom email to a potential visitor. Now, keep in mind, we are a word of mouth marketing organization. We're not a spam company. I like to think of this as the second invitation or the second touch with a visitor, not a blind invitation that you're sending to somebody that you barely know. In other words, let's say that you're out networking. You're out at a Chamber of Commerce event, let's say, and you meet somebody that you think would be a great fit for BNI. So you're talking to him, say, hey, I'd love to introduce you to the rest of my referral team. Why don't you come to my BNI chapter? And they say, oh, great. Tell me more about it. Tell you what, I'll send you an invitation, give you all the information, and you can let me know if you want to go. That is really the ideal purpose of the invitation. But all you need to do is to fill out the information about the person, and it will merge that into a custom email template and send that invitation along. So put in the first name, the last name, the company name. So let's say John Smith from Smith Co. and their email address. If you would like to test this out, just put your own email address in, which is exactly what I'm going to do right now. I'm going to put my own email address in so I get this letter and I can show you guys what it looks like. Then you put your personal message in. This is how they know it comes from you. It was great meeting you at the networking event. I would love to introduce you to my chapter. And I click send. It's going to take this, it's going to wrap it up in a nice package, put a bow on top, and send it out to that potential visitor. And I've already received that, and here it is. Here's what that invitation looks like. You can see it says, Dear John, it was great meeting you at the networking event. I'd love to introduce you to my chapter. Now, I happen to be working with the BNI Burr chapter right now in Antarctica, so it puts in the address for the BNI Burr chapter and when they meet and what time they meet. Then it briefly explains what BNI is. I know that that's one of the things that a lot of people struggle with is, well, I met this person, but what do I actually say to them in order to tell them more about BNI? This takes that challenge away and it lets them say the right things to that potential visitor. lets them know they're looking for a person in that position and to please RSVP with you. Now, if they hit reply, that reply will go to you. It will go to your email as the sender of the invitation. And that's it. Once somebody has registered or has said yes, though, the next part of this process, and again, this is the key right here. The next part of this process is to pre-register them. And here's why I say it's the key part of the process. A lot of times, I'm sure this doesn't happen in Socal, but it definitely happens here, and it's happened to me. But I invite somebody to come and visit my chapter meeting. Yeah, that's great. I'll be there. What time is it? Oh, it's at Thursday morning, 7 o'clock. Oh, 7 at night? No, 7 in the morning. Great. Look forward to seeing you there. Oh, yeah, I'll be there. Then all of a sudden, Thursday morning rolls around and the alarm clock goes off at, oh God, 30 in the morning. And the visitor's like, yeah, you know what? This is kind of early. I think I'm going to skip it. You know what? It's just going to be a regular old networking meeting anyway. There's going to be 100 people there. Nobody's going to notice that I'm not there. But the fact is, and they're thinking that because they've never been to a BNI meeting before. We know what the structure of BNI is. We know we're going to miss them. We know we're going to be waiting outside for them to show up at the meeting. When you pre-register them, though, it takes it from a casual invitation to more of a professional invitation. And as soon as you register them, a couple of things happen. The first thing is that they get an email right away saying, hey, thank you so much. You are now registered to visit this meeting. Plan on being there for 90 minutes. Bring lots of business cards, et cetera, et cetera. 2 days before the meeting, they'll get another reminder. So between the registration message saying, now you're expected to be there, and the reminder to actually show up, it has dramatically increased the number of visitors that are attending that have been registered. In addition to that, as a visitor host, you will get an email notifying you whenever somebody has visited. And the leadership team, so the president, vice president, secretary, treasurer, again, all the visitor hosts and the director consultant, you guys all get notified saying, a visitor is going to be there. Please be prepared to welcome them. Mike says, do we have to manually include visitor meeting fee or can it be auto-populated? The meeting fee cannot be put into that invitation right now as an individual thing. We don't have a variable for it. However, what you may want to do is talk with Jenny. The visitor invitation can be customized on a regional scale. So everybody would use it still. But I would recommend putting maybe a line into that email saying, please check with your, with the member if there's a meeting fee, or please be aware that they might be a meeting fee. Something generic enough that it gives them a warning, but it may not have your particular fee in there. So Jenny's on the call with us today, so I'm sure she's made a note of that. Does that answer your question, Mike? Cool. All right, so again, the next part of this process, though, is to then pre-register the visitors. So there's two ways to do that. The first way is if you're in BNI Connect and we're under the operations menu, again, data entry operations. The first option up here is manage visitors, and you'll notice that there's 4 things here. The first 2 things, which we've always had in the system, is record a visitor and manage visitors. Those are the post-meeting visitors. So that's, again, part of the system that's always been in place here, that you can record a visitor that has attended a meeting. The 2 new things, though, are below that. Register a prospective visitor and manage registered visitors. Register a prospective visitor before a meeting. This is as easy as clicking on this link and filling out the form. So all we need to do, we'll just pick the profession and the specialty and what date they're going to visit. Now, you'll know you're in the right place because you can only choose future dates. So I can't choose dates in the past, but I can choose any future date. So let's say they said that they're going to come to next week's meeting. And let's see, Micah Dre is going to be coming to the meeting. And we just need to fill out the details. Now, when you're talking with your members about this and the people that are entering it, keep in mind that they are filling out this person's first record in BNI. So if they end up becoming an actual visitor, this converts it into a visitor record. Then if they end up becoming a member, it converts it into a member record, and they become a director later on. We can keep all the history intact from the very first time that we had contact with them by putting in good information all the way from the beginning. And also, again, when you're coaching your members to do this, the more information they put in, the less information you have to put in later as a visitor host. So, as much information as you can. And an email address. And once again, I'm going to use my email address so that you can see the registration message. I click submit, and now this person is pre-registered for the meeting. And in just a second, I should get that email saying, congratulations, you are registered to visit this chapter meeting. And here it is. Hi, Mike. You are confirmed to visit the BNI Burr chapter meeting on the 2nd of March at 5:30 p.m. Please plan to be at the meeting for 90 minutes with some extra time to network. Remember to bring plenty of business cards. So this is the email that they get. Now, I also, because I happen to be on the leadership team of that chapter as well, I got an email saying, hey, Alfred, Mike is confirmed to visit the BNI Burr chapter. Please be prepared to welcome him to the chapter. Lots of great things that you can do with this information. You can call the visitor ahead of time and welcome them to the chapter. You can have name badges prepared for them. You can use the report that I'm going to show you for the registered visitors as a sign-in sheet if you want to. All of this when you pre-register your visitors ahead of time. All right, now there is actually a second way to pre-register visitors, by the way, and that's through the public website. So if I go to the public website, let's say I go to socalbni.com, and I'm on your regional website here, and I'm looking at chapters. Let's say I'm a prospective member, and I want to see the list of chapters here. Let's see, I want a chapter that meets on Thursdays, so I'm going to type Thursday in here. And Long Beach, the BNI Boom chapter, that sounds good. So I'm going to click on BNI Boom. I can take a look at the members, see if I want to join this chapter. And one thing we'll see is if we go to the chapter website, there is a link here, visit this chapter. And if I click on visit chapter, this essentially is the same exact form that we have to register a visitor on the inside of BNI Connect. Here's the difference. You don't need to log into BNI Connect first. So where I find this helpful is, for members that are complaining, oh, I lost my password, I don't know what my password is, whatever it is, I can use this for them. I can also take this hyperlink, copy it, and paste it on things like social media, or paste it into an email that I'm sending to a visitor, or send it to an email in the chapter, however you're going to use it. So you can say, hey, by the way, love for you to come. Here's a place that you can register yourself to visit the chapter. The only real difference in this form is that it does have a CAPTCHA code, so they do have to enter CAPTCHA codes, and they type out who invited them rather than the person that was doing the data entry being chosen as the person inviting them. All right, so once you do have people registered for the meeting, another thing that happens is that you now have a report, details of that person that's registered. So I can go to reports now. And Jenny, by the way, this is also available at a regional level for you and for director consultants. And if I go to the bottom here, you should see a report that says Visitor Registration Report. And the beauty is by the way, I can change the date range. I can look out a month or 2 months or 3 months or look into the past, what have you. And I can see we have 2 people registered for the upcoming meeting. We have Adam, who's registered for the meeting on the 2nd, as well as Mike. Mike is also registered for the meeting on the 2nd. So this gives me really an indication of how many people are going to be at that meeting. And again, if you want to, you can print this out. You can use this as kind of a visitor check-in list. If you don't like that format, export it to Excel. And when you export it to Excel, the other nice thing that happens, let me get this over onto the right screen here. There it is. You now have full control over it, but notice that it also has the full address in there. So it has the visit date, it has the full address. So if you wanted to use something like a constant contact or another, if you have a send out cards person in the chapter that's sending follow-ups or anything, you can use that as well by getting the address information from the exported report. All right, so that is the visitor registration. Now, if somebody calls and says, hey, you know what? I'm sorry, I'm not going to be able to make it to that chapter meeting. Something came up. Do you mind if I come back next week? Well, you can always change it by going into managing the registered visitors. I can search for any visitors. I can choose a date range or anything like that. Let's say I only want to search from today forward. I see Adam, and Adam called me up and said, oh, Adam, I can't make it. Can you reschedule me for the 9th? I can edit this visitor, and I can just go down and change the visit date for the 9th. And when I do that, he will then get a new notification saying, by the way, you are registered to visit the BNI meeting on the 9th. And the leadership team will get their second email as well saying, oh, by the way, hi, Alfred, Adam is confirmed to visit on the 9th now. And of course, the registration report will reflect those differences as well. All right, so now we're through the first two parts of the process. So we have the visitor invitation, and we've pre-registered our visitors for the meeting. So now the meeting happens and you do your meeting like you normally would, and the visitors are there and everything's great. The next part of the process is now going to be the follow-up part of the process. Now, if you followed this all the way up to this point, and especially if your members or the visitors are entering their own information, this part just got a lot easier. Much, much less typing. So let's take a look. How do we now record that the visitors have been there? So recording the visitors if the visitor registered. We can go back again to Operations, Manage Visitors, and Manage Registered Visitors and Mark Attendance. This is really the first thing that you want to do. You want to go in and check to see if they registered, which you should know anyway because you got the email update. But you want to check to see if they came to the meeting. So let's say I'm doing it for this particular week's meeting, and I want to do I just want to get this week's registered visitors. So the first thing I do is do a search, and I can see that we had John Smith, and John, I can confirm, came to the meeting the other day. So really all I need to do is to go in and say, yep, this person attended. And if I click the edit button here, I can check any details and click on Visitor Attended. Once they've attended, I just click on Visitor Attended. Once I do that, I'll have a second choice, Add Visitor to the Palms. And what that means is, do I want to give the person that invited them credit, the one in the V column, in the Palms report for inviting that visitor? Now, a lot of times that's going to be yes, because we're hoping to get credit in the Palms report for that. However, there's some occasions where you may not want to. A couple of those might be they're already an existing BNI member. So that's not really a visitor. This should be for qualified visitors. We still may want to retain their information in the visitor database, but we don't necessarily give credit for inviting another BNI member to the chapter. Or it could be their second or third or fourth visit. We only want to give them the credit in the Palms for the first time that the visitor shows up. Now, the person that's going to get credit is by whoever the invited by person is. So it's going to tell you who did the data entry and or who the person chose from the public website, but you do need to verify that. So you need to pick the person from the drop-down list. Now, because I was in the test, I'm not really in the chapter. It was actually Harvey Keitel that invited this person, so I make sure that I choose the right person. And going down to the bottom, and again, because the visitor was already pre-registered, all the rest of the information is here. I just need to verify it. I choose at the bottom whether or not I want to send a follow-up email. Now, most of the time, once again, we are going to send that follow-up email. It says, thank you for visiting. Hope you enjoyed your visit. But there might be occasions when we don't. Again, if it's an already visited BNI member that has, we don't necessarily need to send them a thank you. Another reason might be, I'm sure this will never happen to any of you, but if you get a week or 2 or 3 behind on data entry, it is a little silly to send a thank you for visiting 3 weeks ago message. So in those cases, you may want to choose to not send the follow-up. So I'm going to go ahead and click submit. And now what happens is John Smith is taken out of the registered visitors database and put into my chapter visitors database. So it actually moves it to a different database at that point. And I've already gotten my thank you for visiting BNI, some of the benefits, etc., etc. Now, if the person did not pre-register, and I recommend always checking here first, but you can add a visitor this way. So add an attended visitor by clicking on Add Visitor, meaning they did not have a pre-registration message or record. And this is the exact same form. You just fill out the form, click Submit. If you have multiple visitors to enter, there is a Submit and New, meaning you're going to submit that one. It's going to bring up another blank record right away and again and again and again, so you could do the multiple data entry over and over. All right, now if you know they didn't pre-register, there's always, of course, a option to do that on the operations menu. Where we can go in and just record a visitor that had never pre-registered. And we also have the ability to go in to manage our visitors database as well. So this is where we would find all of the visitors that had visited the chapter that had not been converted to members. So I could see all the visitors, for example, between the first of the year and now. And I can go in and edit those records, or if I need to clean up the database, I can delete them, do whatever I need to do with them that way as well. And of course, once we've done a lot of this data entry and data follow-up, we also have a visitor's report that's available. And here under the reports menu, we do have a chapter visitor report where we can go and look through our visitor database here to see visitor names and entries and all of that wonderful stuff. And once again, if you export the report, there is additional information such as phone numbers and the address details and all of that other stuff. All right, is everybody good so far? All right, so let's take a look at, I mentioned that I have some success stories. So as you guys know, I am the, oh, hold on, before I get to that, Nick says, Charity had a question about MAR, and will the MAR information be migrated? I don't believe that the MAR information will be migrated, if I understand correctly from what I've been told. So you...
Jeremy, this is Jenny.
Jenny?
Yeah, can you hear me okay?
Yep, we can hear you.
Okay, yeah, you're correct. The MAR information will not be migrated. However, we will be exporting the final reports for any data that's currently in that system, and it will be on file in our regional office, so we'll still have it available, just will not be migrating it into BNI Connect.
Excellent, thank you. All right, so it looks like that answers Charity's question. Nick had a question. I don't see the 2 new options in managing visitors, register prospect and manage registered visitors. I will work with Jenny to make sure that those are enabled for your regions. So, and some of that will also have to do with what positions you're assigned right now. And by the
One,
way,
one,
this part of the process, registering visitors, usually anybody can do, but the management of visitors, so actually putting in the, the attendance and entering visitor information that had already attended, that tends to fall with the visitor hosts. Did you want to add to that, Jenny?
you pretty much just covered it.
Excellent. So, Nick, does that help? And if you are a visitor host, we'll make sure that the permissions get adjusted. I'll work with Jenny. Once we did the training, we would review and make sure that all the permissions are in place for the new system.
Yeah, since we still have access to the MAR system as of now, the official rollout and beginning of this is on Monday the 29th. So any of these things that we're discovering as we continue to go through the process, we'll make sure it's all set and ready on Monday for everyone's usage.
Cool. All right. So if we have a couple more minutes, I know we're at the bottom of the hour now. If we have a couple more minutes, I'd love to share with you guys a quick kind of success story that I've had with the visitor registration process. Would that be okay? Cool. So again, as the director of support worldwide, I kind of wanted to prove to my chapter that this actually works. And I was actually the president of my chapter 2 years ago. I stepped in at the last minute for somebody who had to leave the chapter right away, but was the president. And since I'm a director, they already knew I knew what I was doing, so they let me be president for that time. And I jumped in, and we were having a visitors day. And I'm sure you guys have all had visitors days in your chapters before, and typically with a visitors day, what ends up happening is we do the letters and we do all the inviting, we do all that, and then the week before the meeting, we stand up and we say, okay, John, how many visitors do you have coming? Oh, I have 2 visitors. Hey, Jane, how many visitors do you have coming? I have 3. Bob, how many visitors? I don't have any yet, but I'm sure I'm going to get a couple. And you go around the room, and our chapter was 50 members. So by the time we got around the room, I'm like, whoa, my goodness, there's going to be like 125 visitors here. Now, I'd been telling my chapter the whole time, well, we need to register our visitors so that we know how many people are actually coming. Because what always happens is we get this big count, and we're going to have 100, and we're like, yeah, but about like 20% maybe show up, maybe 50% if we're lucky. And it makes it really hard to plan, not to mention it's really disappointing hearing that we're going to have all these visitors and only half of them actually show up. So I go back to my office and I'm freaking out a little bit. I'm like, what's the problem? Because I looked at the registration report and I'm like, there's only 6 people registered for this meeting. So what I did was I used that, if you remember before, I had that email my chapter thing, and I pulled up the report and I said, hey guys, here's the deal. I know you said we have 100 people going, but there's only 6 registered visitors. We have 6 more days to go before our visitors day. Here's what I'd like you to do. Click here and register your visitor. Now that click here is a hyperlink that goes to the chapter webpage that I showed you. So they didn't even have to log into BNI Connect. So I didn't want to, have to hear from people, I don't have my password, I can't do this, I can't do that. No, just click the link, brings you to the public page, and they were able to register. So what ended up happening is that very first day, so actually within 5 minutes of sending this quick email out, my inbox starts going, ding, 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 ding. And all of a sudden we had 21 registered visitors by the next day. So I'm like, hey, this is kind of working. So I sent the email out again and said, hey guys, now we have 5 days to our visitors day. We have 21 registered visitors. You still have time. Click here to register your confirmed visitors. 4 days, we were up to 26. 3 days, we're up to 34. And by the way, one thing you may or may not notice is that in that report, it lets us know who invited them. So we also know kind of subliminally here who's participating in the Visitors Day or who's successfully participating in the Visitors Day. And we have some competitive people in BNI, so that really helped to spark things up a bit. 2 days, we had 39 registered visitors, and then by 13 hours until our Visitors Day, we had 45 registered visitors. So, based on past performance, how many visitors do you actually think showed up to the meeting? Now in my head, Yeah, I'm thinking, we're lucky if we're going to get like 20 people there, because that's about how many people actually show up to the meeting. So the next day we had our meeting, and we actually had 42 of the 45 visitors show up. And here's the kicker. The 3 people that didn't show up called us and apologized. They called us, apologized, said, I'm sorry, we're not going to be able to make this meeting. Do you mind if we reschedule for another week? Of course, we said, no, this was a one-time deal. You are absolutely not allowed to register again. I'm kidding, of course. We allowed them to pre-register. They came back the next week, not a big deal. We ended up with 6 applications turned in at that meeting. We ended up with 3 more that were promised. We ended up with 8 new members from that one Visitors Day. I would say it was a very successful Visitors Day. So anyway, we do this, and I'm no longer president anymore. So now the new leadership team comes in, and if that worked, why not do it again, right? So our new leadership team comes in, and like, oh, whatever, let's have a Visitors Day, and we're going to build this Facebook invite, and we're going to do an event on the calendar. We're going to do this, that, and the other thing, and they're spinning their wheels. They're doing all this stuff to try to get this Visitors Day, but they're just not doing this one thing, which is just to register their visitors for the meeting. So that next set of Visitors Days, they actually even came up with a contest. So their contest was, all right, here's what we're going to do. We're such a big chapter. We're going to split the chapter into 3 pieces. 15 people here, 15 people, 15 people. We're going to have a competition to see who has who brings the most visitors in, and we're going to have a cash prize. We're going to do this, and over 3 Visitors Days, because nobody registered their visitors, we had 8 total visitors over a 3-week period. It was terrible. So another 6 months goes by, and they're getting ready to do another Visitors Day. I usually don't like to interfere with the leadership team. I don't like to take away from their authority or anything, but I said, do you mind if I help? All I want to do is to get people to register their visitors online through BNI Connect. That's the only thing we can do. Everything else you want, I just want to ask them to register. So I did the same exact process. I sent them an email for a week before. This time, we ended up with about 28 people registered, 25 visitors in attendance were at that meeting, and we ended up with 4 applications turned in at that one. So this process, it works. It's very simple. It's very straightforward, and it works. That registration piece right there is the thing that turns it again from a casual, yeah, I'll show up, to a, this is a professional meeting. I'm expected and I need to show up. All right, so that, my friends, is the visitor process in BNI Connect. I'd love to open this up for questions. What questions do you guys have? How can I help you? What other clarifications do you need? By the way, here's some resources if you need them while you're thinking of any questions to type in. You can always find help documents and webinars and all that kind of stuff on the support site. You can just go to support.bniconnect.com. You can also, if you're in BNI Connect, so if you're in BNI Connect, if you click this question mark, it will take you over to the support site. And on the support site, we have a ton of stuff. So, by the way, I do a very similar webinar to this every single month. I actually just did it a couple of days ago. We had inviting and registering visitors last Friday. I do the entire series of webinars every month, so a good referral for me is if you'd like to learn more about BNI Connect, please come and join me on these other webinars, how to fill out your profile, how to do the referrals online, how to connect with other members around the world, how to invite visitors, which is this one, how to go deeper with the member tools and reports, and also all of the leadership team webinars as well. And once the March series is done, I'll do them all again in April as well. Now, if you're curious about a specific thing, you can also, you notice how there's little question marks in front of everything? You can also click the little question mark, and that will take you directly to the help article on that particular topic. So if you're looking to teach your chapter how to do something, for example, you can use these help articles to do that. So if you'd like to, for example, go back to the support page here for a second. If I'd like to teach my chapter how to send a visitor invitation, I can go to that's under operations, Emailing a visitor invitation. This is the help article for exactly how to do that. It has a video, all sorts of things. I did mention this is going to be recorded. You'll be able to find that on youtube.com/BNI Connect Global. We have tons and tons of videos up here for more learning about BNI Connect, and this one will be posted up there as well. All right, we have a question here. Mike asks, is the visitor notification email configurable so it goes out to the whole chapter versus the visitor host LT and DC? Unfortunately, it's not configurable. It is hard-coded to go to just those people. It was, to be completely honest with you, the reason it's done that way is at the time that it was developed a couple of years ago, it just was kind of too expensive to build in all of the choices because some people wanted, oh, it should go to everybody. Some people said, no, just the visitor host. Some people said, just the leadership team. Some people said, oh, the executive director needs to know about it. And this is what, by committee, they came up with as the best recipients for this within the basically the budget and time frame that we had at the time. Now, that being said, there have been made tons and tons of suggestions for how to make it better, and those things will be considered. We're still developing a BNI Connect and will be for a very long time to come. New features and changes. By the way, expect an official BNI app sometime here in 2016 towards the later part of the year, but there will be an official BNI app out as well. So does that answer your question, Mike? Awesome. Do we have any other questions? Any other questions whatsoever? Love to answer those questions for you. Jay says, this is a great point, and I forgot to bring this up at the time, so awesome. Jay says you can always forward the email. So yes, absolutely, and that's something that I've done for Visitors Days as well, is because it's not really written for the Visitors Day. So what you can always do is to take that email. Oops, wrong one. Let me get the visitor invitation email. Here we go. Here's the right one. You can always take this and forward it and basically edit it as necessary. So I could go back here, get rid of this stuff, and put in whatever I need. There is a, turn it back to black, but $25 meeting fee. So that's another way to do that, right? So great point, Jay. Thank you for the reminder. I'll make sure I include that in this afternoon's call as well. All right, what other questions, comments, concerns, thoughts? All right, if there's no other questions, I'm going to wrap this up and just say thank you guys so much for taking the time to be here. I know your executive director appreciates it. I appreciate you spending time with me today, and I know that your chapters appreciate you investing time in your chapter's future by learning this process. It's really going to hopefully help you guys grow and get more visitors in your chapters. So on that note, have a wonderful weekend, everyone, and happy connecting.